Frankenstein's monster. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he violent? Is he innocent? Today we're going to look at his dietary preferences, right? His ethical dietary preferences, and why he does them. Everyone, welcome back to Threpticon. Today we're going to talk about the masterpiece by Mary Shelley, a book titled Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus. So if you don't know the Prometheus myth, it's about a man who defies the gods by giving life to human beings. And that's the same thing that Frankenstein does. Frankenstein is a scientist. He, sort of rises to the top of his field, and he says, "I want to create life, right? I want to play the role of God. I want to create a sentient being that is very similar to human beings." So he says, "Oh, let me take the best parts of various humans. I'll take the hands of a master artist, take the thighs and legs of a sprinter, things like that. Mixes them together, combines them, sews them up, and this kind of activates them with electricity. And the result is the being, right, or the monster. And this being and monster has feelings, right? He has feelings like all human beings and all animals. And he's asking for a companion. That's what he wants. He wants to feel love. He wants to feel friendship. But Frankenstein, the scientist, doesn't allow him, and the monster or the being becomes jealous, right? Eventually kills Frankenstein's brother. He kills his wife. I mean, so he's not all kindness, right? He's a complex being. But at the same time, the being, the monster, realizes that he doesn't want to kill for food, that he wants to live a sort of cruelty-free lifestyle. And that's the interesting part, right? So I put the author here, Mary Shelley. She was around these kind of early pre-vegetarian, this is before the term vegetarian, so pre-vegetarian circles. Um, she was married to a man who was sort of an outspoken vegetable diet eater, a man named Percy Shelley, who we'll look into in a further video. But what Mary Shelley does is she writes this fantastic philosophical book. So let's take a look at some of these quotes of the being and the monster. All right, this trait of kindness moved me sensibly. So at a certain point, he escapes into the Swiss countryside. And he observes a poor family, and at first he's stealing food from them, as he says. "I'd been accustomed during the night to steal a part of their store for my own consumption, but when I found that in doing this I inflicted pain on the cottagers, I abstained and satisfied myself with berries, nuts, roots, which I gathered from a neighboring wood." So he realizes that he was inflicting pain on other beings, other human beings, by stealing their food because they suffered want and poverty. So he said, "I'm going to just gather all of my food, eat berries, nuts, and roots, like some sort of wild man, if we can say that." So the monster is kind of living what I think Mary Shelley pictured was the origin of the human race, right? Just this being kind of alone in the woods, just kind of eating what they found, right? These nuts and seeds and such, and not killing other beings for their food, right? So the next quote, I won't read the whole thing. We'll just look at the first line. That's the important part. "My food is not that of man. I do not destroy the lamb and the kid to glut my appetite. Acorns and berries afford me sufficient nourishment." So he says this to in a dialogue with Frankenstein, um, basically trying to show that he's innocent, trying to show that he's kind, trying to show that he's compassionate, right? I'm not like human beings. What do human beings do? They look at these beautiful little creatures, these lambs and these little kids, these kid goats, right? And they have no pity. They kill them. They kill them for their flesh. But not me. No, I just eat berries, acorns, and that's enough for me, right? And then what he wants is a companion. He says, "My companion will be like me and will live in the woods. And the sun will, shine down upon us and ripen the fruit that we eat." Sort of a return to Eden once again. And there's a reference to the golden age of classical Latin literature, right? You can find references in Ovid and so on. When human beings ate acorns, right? which is true. There's so many societies around the world that eat and ate acorns, right? For example, the native peoples of California, um, I think especially around the Bay Area, they their diet was, predominantly acorns. Anyway, anyway, so we have a very complex being here, a monster that on one hand, kills human beings out of revenge, out of jealousy, envy, while on the other hand, he tries to correct the error of the human race by not participating in the cultural violence that human beings do. So let me know what you think about Frankenstein's monster. Is he good? Is he bad? We can definitely get into the philosophical discussion of his ethics. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again next time.